Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to what is currently my most ambitious review series ever. What I would like to attempt is a full review of the Twilight Zone, and this will just be sort of an introductory episode. So this was a series that was before my time. Even the first time it was rebooted, it was before my time. But, a series with those multiple reboots must have had a strong impact. So I think it's worth talking about. My plan for this video series is to watch through the series beginning to end and offer summaries, commentaries, thoughts, personal anecdotes and experiences for myself relating to these episodes, and just kind of the general impact they had, possibly in the way they influenced future science fiction. I'm going to attempt to offer all of these thoughts in under 25 minutes because at that point you might as well be watching the episode yourself. But we'll see how that goes. I think if an episode is thought-provoking enough, I could easily talk about it for longer than its own length. And now, since there are over 150 episodes of this series, I might end up skipping around, or I might end up talking about more than one episode per video. I'm still going to have to kind of feel that out. I should give you a fair warning. A series that's this ambitious and surely long-running might not always enjoy the same background art that I have for the introductory episode. So if you're watching future episodes and seeing strange background art that has nothing to do with the Twilight Zone, that would be why. Now, I still have not seen probably the majority of the episodes of the Twilight Zone, but the episodes that I have seen have had a big enough impact on me that I feel compelled to watch through the rest of it and share my thoughts on it with the world. I honestly think it's one of the best TV series ever made, and it's definitely had a huge impact on the world of sci-fi and just kind of the world of fiction in general. You see people referencing it all the time, and you might not even realize when you're seeing references to the Twilight Zone specifically. Now, a show like this is fairly different from anything I've talked about on my channel in the past. So maybe I should summarize the Twilight Zone for anybody who just has absolutely no familiarity with it. I mean, personally, I never even saw it until I was in my late teens. It's not even a show that I grew up with. I just saw it on TV one day. I was like, oh, Twilight Zone, I've heard of this. And I was just immediately hooked. But before I had ever seen the series, I had some assumptions about it. I assumed it had some vague continuity taking place in its own universe, kind of like a Star Trek type show. I also assumed that the Twilight Zone referred to a single consistent recurring place. But it's more like, well, as the intro would describe it, a dimension of sight, sound, and mind. It's less of an alternate world and more like a twist on the existing world. But as it happens, all of the episodes are standalone with, as far as I know, no direct interconnections. It's an anthology series. About the only thing that consistently unifies the episodes narratively is just some general vague element of sci-fi or fantasy. It might take place in the past, in present day, or in the future, or in a completely unrelated world to ours. It was a very open-ended concept, and different writers and directors took a great advantage of that open-endedness. Lots of people have compared the recent series Black Mirror to the Twilight Zone, and they do share a lot of similarities. One big similarity being that from episode to episode you might have wildly different themes and tones even. Some episodes might be comedic, some episodes might be about horror, but pretty much all of them are unified by science fiction or speculative fiction. Now, having seen a few dozen Twilight Zone episodes, I have categorized them into three basic types. The first type are deeply thought-provoking works that transcend a simple statement of morality. They're not just some proverb or fable to tell you how to live your life. They're episodes that can be discussed and interpreted. They inspire the viewer to ask questions more so than give the viewer answers. Notable examples of this first type would be Walking Distance, The Lonely, and The Big Tall Wish, I would say. Episode type 2 is basically, wouldn't it be neat if this sci-fi thing happened? Or wouldn't it be horrible if this sci-fi thing existed? I would say the majority of episodes fall into this category. It's basically taking a sci-fi or fantasy idea and exploring what would happen if such a thing were to be in the real world, but not provoking any kind of groundbreaking thought. Notable examples of this type would be The Mighty Casey, A Most Unusual Camera, or The Invaders. Obviously, the first type is my favorite. The second type is fine. The third type, my least favorite, is something strange is happening and only I seem to realize it. Is it really happening, or am I just losing my mind? That sounds like a very specific premise, but it's used surprisingly often. And I consider these the least substantial episodes. I mean, sure, they can be suspenseful, and there can be some artistry to them in their execution, but they always boil down to a simple binary ending that doesn't really feel like a strong artistic statement in any way. The series is known for having a fair amount of twist-ending episodes, and this is where a lot of those will come in. I mean, sometimes they come in the other types as well, but it's definitely a cheaper experience when you're just watching a half-hour episode that builds up to nothing more than the creators saying, "Haha, gotcha. Bet you didn't see that one coming." Notable examples of that third type would be A World of Difference, Shadow Play, and Mirror Image. Now, I may make reference to these three types throughout this series, or I might just silently drop it as we go on if it starts to feel too reductive, if it starts to feel like an oversimplification of how the episodes are structured. I'll probably be putting this video out at the same time as my first episode review, so keep watching and stay tuned for that. The first episode is titled, Where Is Everybody? Make sure you subscribe to my channel and do all of that good stuff if you want to be notified of this ongoing series. You know how this YouTube thing works. If you're interested, then do that. And you need to do all the likes and comments and stuff to get the video more noticed in YouTube's algorithm. This video and others are made possible by the financial support of my sponsors and patrons, such as